So now we have the second half of our dynamic duo of our cowgirl contingent, the archetype, the cowgirl archetype. I know we want to learn more and more about that through the retreats and such we spoke about earlier with Dulce, but now we're going to be speaking with Jan Wakefield, the second half, and I'm just getting my glasses so I can adequately read your bio, but biofeedback hacker. We're going to learn what that is. I don't know, and this is what makes it so exciting to me because I don't know. You're an educator, a speaker, a life coach, thousands of people worldwide, and you are the creator of Hack Your Biofield program. And you help women increase vitality, revenue in their businesses, deepen connection to your soul's purpose. You have expertise in transformation of teaching, coaching, and good Lord, woman, what don't you do?
That's a good question.
Oh, you're a
Yeah,
university professor. I should address you with the respect that you command. Professor Wakefield, welcome.
thank you. And I'd like to say aloha from Honolulu, Hawaii.
Oh, yeah.
So my current location is one of the most beautiful places on the planet.
It really is. And have you always been there, or how did you find your way to the most beautiful place on the planet?
It's a really great story. So I originated in Pennsylvania many years ago, but shortly after that, I moved to Arizona. And I spent about 33 years in the Southwest,
Oh,
particularly in Arizona. And about 2 years ago, I moved to the island, and that was sort of what launched a big part of my coaching practice and the Hack Your Biofield program, because I was suffering and struggling in Arizona with chronic migraines.
oh,
And a lot of times it takes a huge health crisis in a person's life for them to
mm,
say, I got to do something different. Something needs to change here. So
mm.
in Arizona, I spent 4 years with a nonstop migraine. I was in physical pain.
Oh
I
my
was
gosh.
in bed a lot. I spent a lot of time in the hospital.
Oh my
I have
gosh.
a frequent visitor card at the Mayo Clinic.
What the
So
heck?
it was a big deal. And so what
Unbelievable.
happened for me was I discovered I was pain free when I lived or when I was visiting Hawaii on vacation. So in
Hmm.
2021, my husband and I sold all of our businesses in Arizona, rented out our house, and moved everything to Hawaii. And
Oh
that's how I
my
got here.
goodness. Well, and to feel your energy now and to see you, you're so vibrant and you're effervescent and clearly, Dulce and I were speaking about this embodied. You're in your body and feeling fantastic and you're doing great work. What a testimonial to the life you're living and the path you've taken. So just a little bit of validation there for that. So you said you had businesses that you and your husband sold. What was the nature of those businesses?
Yeah,
If you
my
want to
husband is a
share, you don't have to, but
sure, of course. Yeah, my husband's a chiropractor, and we had
okay.
three chiropractic clinics, and we were also we had a thriving health coach business. So we helped people with weight loss,
Oh,
basically.
thank you. What a wonderful thing to have done. That's great. People really struggle with that. Um, okay, and so then your personal health crisis led you to where you are now and to just coaching and all of this. And where did the college, the professorship, where did that come into play?
I started teaching when I was 15 years old. So I've been a teacher almost my whole life.
Oh my God.
Um, I taught children at the time. And as a teenager, as an older teenager, I worked in aftercare programs and I studied
Mm.
elementary education,
Oh my goodness.
and became an elementary teacher. And I was continuing my education from there and finished up subsequent degrees so that I could move into higher education. And I have loved that. It's been a wonderful journey for me. I teach writing courses.
Mm.
But what I like to tell my students, and it's kind of the little joke I have with my students, is that they're in a personal transformation class. And if they learn to write, then I consider that a bonus. And they find that very funny, but the truth is,
Mm.
nothing changes us more than education.
Mhm.
Education changes us.
Mhm.
So I've really loved being a teacher, and that's how I have transitioned from teaching in the university setting to having this wonderful coaching program where I am teaching people more about that personal transformation aspect specifically.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I love what you said, because one of the reasons I was so excited about you and your partner in crime is Dulce, is that I've never heard it said exactly the way you two say it. And I've heard some things. I've been in this business quite some time. So we tend to think we've been there, done that. But to your point, that education changes us. I feel a little bit changed just by knowing you guys and understanding a little bit more about how you deliver. It's like, yes, that feels really good. It makes us feel good. So thank you. All right. So talk to us about biohack field. Talk to us about biofield. Call it what it actually is. Quit lettering me. I'm slaughtering it. What is it? How did this get developed? How does it serve us? What's the deal?
Love it. Yes, the biofield is the energy field that surrounds the body.
Okay.
I learned about it in my energy medicine training. So I trained as a shaman about 20 years ago. And I worked with indigenous people from the Andes, and also my training program, mostly 100% of it took place here in the United States, mostly in California and Utah. And it was a wonderful way of experiencing my life from the perspective of having certain types of gifts. And I know you have similar gifts as well. So I've been told that I have psychic abilities, and that I have gifts with reading cards. Divination of that type was certainly a part of my life and a part of my training. I took an entire course just on divination. But it was more understanding that energy field and how it impacts who we are in the world and how we present ourselves in the world. And the shaman perspective was fabulous. And from there, I did one-on-one sessions with people, but realized that was really not my passion, that I wanted to show people more about how to do it themselves, that we all inherently have this power to look into the energy world, even though it's unseen, and sense and perceive what's happening and why we have experiences in our lives based on the biofield. So that energy field that surrounds the body, it goes out the top of the head, around the physical body, about the width of the outstretched arms, down into the earth, and it circles back up through the spine and the central nervous system. And what people don't realize is that energy field isn't just outside the body. It is integrated in every single cell of our bodies. So that information, I like to say the biofield, that energy field that surrounds us, is the blueprint of every experience we have in our lives. So as a shaman, I realized people were coming to me for one item at a time. Oh my gosh, this trauma or that trauma, and would work one step at a time. And I thought, if we don't speed this up, it's going to take 400 years to work through every tiny little detail 1 hour at a time. So being the academic, I started doing the research, and I started looking into, what does the science say about it? Because it's really evolved over the last 20 years. And what I discovered was the term biofield is what they use in science. And because our world is very science oriented, I started calling it the biofield to sort of bridge the gap between the woo world of the psychic, which I fully understand that language. I live there part of the time. And then the science world that says, okay, medicine is starting to acknowledge that the biofield does exist and that we do need to care for it just as much as we do our mental health or our physical health, because these three aspects of the human are integrated, and you can't have one without the other. So you can't just treat something on the physical without looking to see how it's impacting psychological. And then that one deeper layer that we know about, and I'd like the world to know more about, is the biofield.
Wow, I love it. I completely understood what you said, and I love the way you said it. I haven't heard it that way, and I'm glad I understand how bio came to be. So this was the inception of your business, or I don't like, it's not, it is a business, but it's your practice.
It's my practice.
And then how did you start talking to people about it, or how did it become thriving the way it is now?
Yeah. So when I moved to Hawaii, and I had been in pain for so long with migraine. I was working with healers who were helping me overcome just my pain and getting me through the day to day. I had, as I said, 11 doctors at various clinics around in the Southwest that I traveled to. In 1 year alone, I did over 550 acupuncture visits.
Oh,
It was literally minute to minute. I was holding myself together trying to stay out of pain.
oh my
Not to
goodness.
mention the mountain of medications. The
Oh,
allopathic route has been very helpful in my search for being pain free.
mm-hmm,
But what you do when you're in pain and you're in a dark closet hoping for the best is that you start
mm-hmm.
thinking about, what would I do if, I would bargain with myself. Essentially, I would say to my mind, the day I get out of this pain, I'm going to help other
Oh,
people.
mm, mm,
Because as a teacher, you're automatically helping other people.
mm,
But the work I do with the biofield is more intentional. It's like, I
mm,
know what it's like to suffer. I feel a deep sense of compassion for people,
mhm,
whether they're having physical health issues, whether they're having a crisis of faith, whether they're having relationship problems.
mhm,
I understand what it's like to suffer. So, and I
mhm.
also know a lot of really practical skills to get out of that place of stress
Nice.
and
That's
anxiety
beautiful.
and
Mhm,
suffering. So I want to help other people find it too. I made a promise to myself in that dark closet of migraine suffering that when I was
mhm,
free of pain,
mhm,
blessed that I am today, that I would help others find their way to being pain free, whether it's physical
mhm,
or some other type of pain.
mhm. That's really beautiful. And so I know it's hard to put into one, two, three. How did it, what were your answers? But one, two, three, what were your answers? What are some top
Yeah.
common takeaways you see with people, especially like, I mean, I suffered from migraines for a period of time, so I get it. Not for 4 years, but I'd have them for 10 or 15 days at a time. And part of it was diet, but part of it was stress and the way I was internalizing various things. And once I moved beyond certain traumas or whatever, I felt better. So for me, it's really like stress free, eating properly, not overdoing, proper exercise, things like that, which seem relatively mundane solutions. Like, well, of course. But when we're in it, we don't realize, oh, I'm hating myself this moment. Or, oh, yes, that trauma from when I was 12, it's still sitting there. I mean, what have you found in your practice?
I love that you brought up the number three,
Oh, okay.
because I have a three-prong approach to hacking your biofield. The first is identify, and you were just talking about that. You identify it. There are also three parts of the body, right? There's the physical, the psychological or emotional, and then there's the spiritual part or the energetic part of the body, the biofield. So when we are looking at identifying where these things come from, almost first people will look at the physical. It's like, how can I change my relationship? Should I be with somebody else? Do I need another medication? Do I have to do this? Like, we'll look first at that physical thing. It's like, what do I need to change in my environment? Maybe their job is too stressful, or maybe just their approach to their job is too stressful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're identifying by looking at what's going on physically, what's going on mentally, and then what's going on in the energy field. And once we identify the physical, oftentimes people will say, well, I can't quit my job, or I can't leave my relationship, or I can't, ship my kids off somewhere else because they're stressing me out. And then we start looking at, okay, just like you said, where is that deeper layer? What's happened psychologically? How do we
Mm-hmm.
maybe look in our past to see, was there a connection there? That's another
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
piece, another checkbox. And then, of course, we look at the energy field, which is the most complex part. But when we get down to the energy field, that means people are ready and willing to take responsibility for everything that's happened thus far. A lot of times there is trauma involved. Not gonna not gonna sugarcoat it, because the truth is we all have had experiences, whether they were traumatic or not. We may have perceived it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened for me with migraine as well. I had to look at my life and say, how am I being in the world?
Mm-hmm.
It's not genetics, although there's the component of genetics. It's not about my job. It's not about my relationship. It really was an internal thing. And that's kind of where that cowgirl archetype comes in that we were talking about. Like I
Yes.
had to pull myself by my bootstraps and say, all right,
Mhm.
girl, face this thing now. And I
Mhm.
realized I was pretty lousy at making boundaries.
Mhm.
I
Oh,
wanted to help everyone do everything.
interesting.
And as we know, when you're with a horse, so if we're talking about
Mhm.
the cowgirl, when you're with a horse, you have to have pretty good boundaries because they're going to show you good boundaries.
Mm.
So that's kind of the same
Interesting.
thing,
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
metaphor. It's the same thing in my work and in my
Yes.
experience.
So how do you perceive the biofield? You, Jan.
Mm-hmm.
Or how does one perceive the
Yeah.
biofield?
Right. So, as I said earlier, you and I are similar that way. We have these unique gifts and we can see. So, I have the actual visual ability to see the biofield. Not everybody does, and that's okay. Where we start with looking at the biofield is in quieting the mind. And that is as simple as sitting down, closing your eyes, and focusing on breathing. And meditation is a really important practice I offer. And it's not like a lot of people get very overwhelmed with the thought of meditating. How am I going to find the time for this? Like, you can take 5 minutes and meditate. It's
Mhm.
very, very simple once you know that you can calm yourself and quiet yourself in just a couple of minutes. And yeah, it
Mhm.
takes a little bit of practice, but that's where we begin in hacking your biofield and looking into those biofield imprints. We
Mhm.
start with closing the eyes, quieting the mind,
Mm.
5 minutes.
Mm. And I know a lot of people don't want to do that 5 minutes. And so that's it's useful to have someone to help them do that. So I guess that's where you come in. You support them in just doing what's best for themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. In the Hack Your Biofield program, we come up with an action plan so that people can get over the hurdle. Because honestly, 100% of the time, if people struggle with meditation, it's a mindset issue.
Hmm. Oh,
There's
nice.
something that is emerging instantly when they close their eyes and they relax, and then their mind gets going, and they don't want to experience that, and that's just the mindset issue.
Hmm. Love that. So we're going to be speaking with Dulce momentarily. You guys are going to talk about the Cowgirl's Guide to Emotional Fitness and this incredible Bali trip. Oh my gosh, it looks so amazing and wonderful. And you work in group pretty much primarily. Do you have a group program that is just for your bio hack work? I'm sorry, I keep butchering the title. It's just
It's okay.
amazing. Um, do you have something people can do otherwise besides the retreats, or
Yes, the Hack Your Biofield program that
hack
is
your bio? One more time. Biofield. Hack your biofield program.
program, right? And biofield comes from biological field.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what the science calls it. It's a biological field that surrounds the body,
Hmm.
and it's that energy that you can feel when you're in close
Yes.
contact with someone,
Yes. Like
especially
get
loved
out of my
ones.
space already. Okay.
You're right. You're on the subway.
Yes. That's why the one
Yes.
good part of COVID, 6 feet away, Mister. I'm kidding. Okay. So what goes on with the program? What do people get from that?
Hack Your Biofield program includes 8 weeks of one-on-one coaching. So I meet with them
Oh,
once a week for an hour or more if needed. And this is what I'm saying. We help people work on that action plan so that they have me standing there with them saying, it's okay, we can do this together. You're not alone. You don't have to figure it out by yourself.
mm-hmm.
So the 8 weeks of coaching is paralleled with an 8 week online course where there's a module each week that aligns with what we're going to talk about and how we're going to get people on track. And it gives all the steps, simple steps in video format so people can know exactly what to do in order to hack your biofield. In addition to that, I have a private Facebook group where all the people who join the course can get together. I go live there once a week covering commonly asked questions and
Oh,
topics, and people can just throw all their questions in there and everyone's helping everyone out.
nice.
So it's a nice community.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So you are a little bit boots on the ground under certain circumstances.
Yeah,
I'm just using my cowgirl language, boots on the ground here. I'm trying to join the
exactly.
cowgirl club. Okay. Well, what else do we need to know about you that we don't, or that you'd like to share with the listeners and readers? Because I've told people about your Eden Magazine feature. So, what else would you like to share with us that I haven't touched on?
So, I'd love to share just a little bit about the Bali retreat.
Yes,
Is
please.
this a good time for that? Okay.
Sure.
So, in Bali, it's one of the most exotic and feminine places on the planet.
Mm.
And what I find is that it's more focused, it's kind of like the tangled feminine, lots of jungle. And there are two things that make Bali amazing for a place for transformation. And I'm going to mention a little bit about that in a moment, but I have to talk Bali up just a minute. Aside from being amazingly gorgeous, the jungle aspect, the ocean, the wonderful hospitality, the people, and their whole spiritual tradition, which is like no other place on the planet. It's
Mhm.
like nothing everyone, any other country has. It's all imbued. Everything they do in their daily life is imbued with their spiritual practice. And
Mhm.
so it is a great model for how we can live with mindfulness and intention.
Mhm.
Um, and it's gentle and they're
Mhm.
kind. So when
Mhm.
people fly all this distance to go to Bali, they're sort of embraced in this wonderful culture.
Mhm.
And what we do when we're there is we step back in time a little bit.
Mhm.
It's everything slows down. It's an
Mhm.
opportunity to relax and refresh. The retreats are about spa treatments
Mhm.
and cultural activities, learning to
Mhm.
do Balinese dance and Balinese cooking, and learning how to just change that pace to something a little bit more relaxed than the life we have here in the United States, where everything moves really, really quickly.
Mhm.
And it's just not as modern. And that allows us to have that time to just internally reflect and find that place of power within ourselves in the feminine so that we can emerge from a trip to Bali and experience our current world back in the United States in the speed that it is,
Mhm.
remembering what it's like to have that slow, calm energy internally. It's really lovely.
Mhm. It just sounds, I'm there now. I'm there now. Just what you described. Take me there now. It sounds just remarkable. Well, we're going to invite your good friend, fellow cowgirl, Dulce, to join us momentarily. But I want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me and share your gifts and talents on all your work you're doing in the world is so appreciative, and I know it's life changing. So thank you so much for that, and thank you for being here. And I'll be talking with you momentarily.
Thanks, Phyllis. I appreciate your time today.